Burkina Faso has seen significant changes in foreign policy, security, and government since Captain Ibrahim Traore took office in October 2022. These changes have been prompted by the urgent need to combat violence from extremist organizations associated with Al-Qaeda and ISIS. Traore's government made counterterrorism a top priority by reorganizing the defense industry and deploying both military and civilian forces to retake areas that the rebels had taken. Significant displacement and severe levels of violence persist in the nation. Despite modest progress, politically, Traore overthrew former leader Damiba's administration and assumed complete authority. In response to persistent security threats, he later extended military rule by 5 years, a decision that has come under fire for impeding democratic procedures. In addition, Burkina Faso's foreign policy has changed as a result of discontent with earlier Western assistance, realigning towards non-Western partners like Russia. Concerns regarding the geopolitical stability of the region are raised by this change, which is mirrored in similar patterns in nearby Sahelian nations. 1. Security and counterterrorism initiatives. Restoring Burkina Faso's territorial integrity through improved anti-terrorism measures was President Ibrahim Traore's top priority when he took office. In order to combat rebel organizations endangering national stability, the government immediately gave priority to reorganizing the defense industry, allocating more funds to the military, and bolstering civilian participation. Community defense programs, in which volunteers were enlisted to assist the military and create local support networks to strengthen counterterrorism measures, were a significant component of this endeavor. Some progress has been made in reclaiming control of areas where radicals formerly controlled as a result of these attempts. Insurgent threats are still present in some areas, and the nation is nevertheless beset by recurrent acts of violence. The continuous wars have resulted in massive displacement, which has had a tremendous impact on the civilian population. The ongoing security concerns and the toll on local populations as they cope with instability are highlighted by this mass relocation. Although Traore's strategy has strengthened territorial defense, Burkina Faso still has to strike a careful balance between achieving military triumphs and tackling the Sahelian region's security and humanitarian issues. 2. Governance and political restructuring. Following his ascent to power, Traore dissolved Damiba's transitional government, temporarily suspended the constitution, and assumed control of the country's governance. Traore sought to solidify his power while addressing Burkina Faso's urgent security issues by forming a new transitional government. In May 2024, Traore's government prolonged military control by an extra 5 years, claiming continued security concerns, despite his initial vow to restore the nation to civilian governance by mid-2024. Debate about the future of civilian supervision in Burkina Faso has been sparked by this move, which has sparked worries about the possible deterioration of democratic procedures and the growing militarization of the government, both domestically and internationally. 3. Foreign relations and shifts in regional alliances. Burkina Faso's foreign policy has changed under Traore's direction, with a focus on collaborations with Sahelian neighbors like Mali and Niger, who deal with comparable security challenges. This convergence has improved regional unity among military-led administrations and is founded on shared counterterrorism objectives. Traore has simultaneously expressed dissatisfaction with France and other Western nations for what he views as their lack of support and showed openness to non-Western partnerships, particularly with Russia. According to reports, Russian paramilitary forces and advisors have stepped up their presence in the area, bringing Burkina Faso into line with the larger shift observed in Mali and Niger. Western countries are concerned about this change because they are wary of the possible effects on human rights and the long-term stability of the area. 4. Socioeconomic and internal impact. The persistent security issues in Burkina Faso have made the socioeconomic situation in the nation worse. Food insecurity and poverty have increased as a result of ongoing conflict that has affected important industries like agriculture. Furthermore, the widespread displacement brought on by violence has put a strain on local resources and exacerbated the humanitarian catastrophe. Traore's government has made an effort to lessen these effects by encouraging community-led defense, but its capacity to do so has been hampered by logistical and budgetary limitations brought on by high security costs. Although there have been increasing calls for stronger economic measures to reduce poverty and support recovery efforts, the protracted conflict has prevented significant progress. 5. Prospects and long-term challenges. Under the leadership of Captain Ibrahim Traore, Burkina Faso has made resolving pressing security issues a top priority, especially those arising from extremist insurgencies that impact the country's northern and eastern provinces. In order to support counterterrorism efforts, his administration has prioritized building community defense institutions, bolstering the military, and enlisting local troops. Even though these actions have partially succeeded in regaining land, they have also sparked worries about the growing militarization of government and the possibility of solidifying military control, which might postpone the nation's transition back to democracy. The political environment has become even more complex as a result of the move toward tighter ties with Russia, destabilization of democratic standards, and the strengthening of authoritarian rule have been associated with Russian influence, particularly through military cooperation and misinformation. Concerns have been expressed about whether Burkina Faso's shift may erode its long-standing relationships with Western allies, such as the EU and France, given Russia's expanding influence in nations like Mali. Some perceive this reorientation toward Russia as a calculated step to increase security, while others see it as a departure from democratic norms supported by the West. The capacity of Burkina Faso to strike a balance between the pressing security demands, the restoration of democracy, and constructive foreign relations will ultimately likely determine its destiny. Long-term peace and prosperity will depend on preserving stability while negotiating the impact of outside forces, including as Russia, and honoring democratic goals. Significant changes have occurred in Burkina Faso's government, security, foreign policy, and socio-economic sectors since Captain Ibrahim Traore became office. The fight against insurgency has been a top priority for Traore's administration, particularly in the northern and eastern areas where extremist violence is a problem.